Okay, and then the term I see a lot, well, let me back up. How is this program different from like other research programs you've worked on in the past?
Well, its size is one thing. I've been involved in big studies before, a study of women and their health that had 160 some thousand people in it across the country. That was a big one, but 1 million is even bigger. And one of the things that now we're taking advantage of is, all of the new technology with, figuring out people's DNA and how that might react with their environmental exposure. So that's one thing. Another thing is how the program is really being done. And it's not just us egghead people at universities, but it's also, people out in the community. We have a participant and community advisory board. Our participants who join up into the research program, they have a say in what we do. They are on the committees, they're at the meetings, they're at the big national meetings. They have a say in, how we do things, what we do, how we're working with the people out in the community to get folks to sign up. It's a and when you start saying we're going to be looking at people's DNA, there's trust issues with that, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, we've got to get that right. Because this is truly a study for all of us. We want a whole broad group of people. There, research for the longest time was basically white men.
Mhm.
And everybody else was like, well, we don't really know how the research, will work in other groups, but we know what's going on with the white dudes. And that's not so great for the rest of us, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. Yeah, so there's lots of stuff that's different about all of us than things that have been done before. And this, engaging people out in the communities, going out and talking to people, saying what is it that's important to you? What would you like to, see happen in the research program? Where do you think we should go? How do you think we should do that? Um, you know, all of that. That's a new thing.
And another thing I see that your program talks about a lot is this thing called precision medicine,
Yep.
how that differs.
Well, so, the usual way that we've done things is, for instance, let's say a company has a new drug, and we were talking about blood pressure before. So let's say we've got this new drug, we think it's going to lower blood pressure. So we're going to test it in some people. We're going to recruit some people, give them the medication, have them take it for, 3 months or something, see what happens to their blood pressure. Some people will get the pill that's real. Some people will get, the placebo pill. And let's see how much difference there is over that, short span of time. And, does the blood pressure fall? And if so, how much? And averages there are used. Okay. But in most of the studies that are done testing medications, there is a distribution of responses. In some people, like taking the statin drugs that lower cholesterol. Some
Mhm.
people, it drops their cholesterol a great deal. Some
Mhm.
people, it drops it a bit. And some people, it actually doesn't change their cholesterol at all. And so if you go by well, on average, it will decrease your cholesterol, let's say by, 10%, that hides a lot of difference in there. So the precision medicine approach is more on the individual person and less on the averages. So for instance, there are certain drugs where, well, there's one that they give for people who have, a heart stent put in to open up one of their coronary arteries. there's a medication that they give people that is supposed to inhibit the platelets and stop a blood clot from forming and clogging up that stent. So there are people that works in. They have to have an enzyme that activates that medication so that it works. There are people that don't have the enzyme, so that medicine doesn't work in them. Now, you put a heart stent in somebody like that, you give them this medicine, and they might come back 2 weeks later having chest pain and a heart attack because the stent plugged up. Well, you would want to know that beforehand, right? I mean, you're going to get a heart stent put in. You want that sucker to work for a long time. You don't want to be back in 2 weeks with another heart attack. So it would be helpful to know if you're one of those people, and this is a genetic thing. It's in your DNA. It can be tested for. Am I the kind of person that is not going to respond to this pill? So you need to give me a different one to keep my heart stent from plugging up. And you can do that ahead of time. And that's kind of a precision medicine approach. This particular person needs to take this pill and not that pill. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, because a lot of times people may think one pill works for everybody and different factors and genetic factors, different.
And one pill doesn't work for everybody.
Yes, aspirin. There used to be an age old, you like to say, take an aspirin and for a simple and wake up, headache be gone. But now it's like different, and these different allergies out here.
Yeah,
so
right.
So for like that, speaking like, I guess you kind of answered the question. It's like importance of diversity, but I guess it's important for medical research as well, right?
Oh yeah, and for instance, there are certain genetic things that tend to be more common in some groups than others. Sickle cell anemia, for instance, being one. So it's important to have a lot of different kinds of people in a study. That way, you're not misled. If you have a study of all, say, Black people, you might think, well, there's a lot of sickle cell anemia out there, but it's not very common in people who look like me. So having a big diversity of people is much, much better.
Do you know what's happening in Birmingham? Download the What's Happening Birmingham app today on Android, iPhone, and iPad for free. Get info on everything you need to know about local news, events, businesses, restaurants, and more. Visit our website, what'shappeningbham.com, or follow us on social media @happeningbham for more information. Download the What's Happening Birmingham app today, your source for everything Birmingham.